So, I'm Marco Villa. I'm currently the Chief Operating Officer at Terran Orbital. Tyvak, two different names for the same reality. But, you good?
Yeah, but good they're coming out yellow on the screen.
Okay, I'll keep going, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit about me, and I think it's important to put in perspective some of the things that I'm going to say. So I come from an extremely small area in northern Italy, and very early on in my life, I realized two things. The first one is I have a very strange ability that I still have to understand if it's a good thing or a bad thing, that I look at very complex problems, and I don't get fearful about that. And I look at them, and what I do, I break them down in very small pieces, and I try to resolve every single one of them, one at a time, anchor in reality until I can actually put them back together and make something that it's real, that is working fine. The second one is the concept that I absolutely never relentlessly give up. I just don't know what it means not to try everything I have to achieve something that again is anchored in reality. Everybody's got different things, but those two things in particular for me are the ones that helped me throughout my career. What they did, they allowed me to go from this area where I grew up, and I never forget that, all the way to being able to touch and work and be part of in different ways of some of the, some of the most advanced technological steps that have been in the recent years. So I've been part of SpaceX from earlier on. I was the first non-American being part of that. Now I am American, so it's fine. I'm well accepted apparently now. I remember the first time there, one of the first things that happened to me was getting into a conference room with a whiteboard that was completely empty. And congratulations, we just won COTS, which was the previous to CRS, there was COTS to do the demonstration to go to the station. We have no idea how to get there. We don't exactly know how to take the Dragon to the station and bring it back. So that has been my job there from the beginning, was to put together the entire strategy, the entire mission, really, to do the payload integration, to take it to the station, negotiate with the International Space Station and its partner, which you know very well, what that means, and do it as a commercial, completely commercial entity at that time. It was had its challenges, and obviously then bring it back. After 7 years, I've done my mission, CRS, I started crew. I kind of like decided it was time for me to move on. I needed new challenges. So there was this time where the Hyperloop paper from Elon came out, and I was like, that sounds very interesting to polish my brain for a little bit. And so what I did there, it was to understand if actually that was possible to become a reality, and both economically and technically and from an infrastructure point of view, and most importantly, if anybody actually really cared about it. So I embarked on 6 months to go around the world and to kind of make all these connections, and then I got out because that wasn't my thing, but now it's good to see how it's been progressing, and there are many companies doing that, Virgin included, and it's getting a reality. My latest thing is, since 2013, I joined a company called Tyvak. Tyvak had the crazy idea to focus on utilizing small satellites in order to make them become operational. So it was started by essentially the group that started the entire CubeSat movement, at least half of it, the Calpoli guys. And it was neither a transition between going from an educational only aspect, which is extremely important, still is important now, and has exploded around the globe, to actually make it become, is there a future for them? What are we going to do with them, really? Which is kind of the theme of what you heard a little bit today, and science is one of that. I'll tell you in a second where we are on that path. But before that, since there are students in the room and there are education, I always want to ground everybody. Failures are part of what you do. They will be, and if they aren't, you have tried enough. Embrace failures, embrace everything that comes from them, because you're going to always learn from them. I always tell this to students. I love to go speak to students. I help high schools, I help grade schools, I help homeschooling communities, universities. it's my thing. I owe everything to the education I received. This was 2005. That was the first real hope for the first batch of satellites. It was all 11 of us, essentially the entire number of satellites being built in the world at the time, all on one rocket, the Dnepr, that had a pretty sketchy record at the time. And well, that was proven to be correct. After a lot of hype, Dnepr just made a fantastic hole in the desert, in the tundra, and that was it for us. That was a critical point for the entire community. Not many people in this room may know that, but the entire CubeSat movement almost came to a complete grind stop because of that, because there was nothing else out there at the time. Thank God, one of the most important things that actually came out of all that effort, literally the communities that build those satellites, they all got together, and we decided that it's not if but when was going to become one of our biggest credo. And I adopted it for the rest of my life. It's never in doubt that we can achieve something. It's just a matter of when we're going to achieve that something. And so the CubeSat and the entire small satellite community was reborn. But what's the hype? Why is it important? Why do we care about it, and why does it fit in a discussion like today? Well, extremely simple. 1998, I found, digging through the annuals, this discover where people were questioning if disposable PCs, that was the name at the time, was actually a thing. Why should we care about disposable PCs? Is it something that actually is important? That was the beginning of the entire revolution in anything that has to do with electronic personal devices, all the way to these extremely annoying cell phones that we have on us all the time. But it was also the beginning of everything that they allowed us to create and to evolve, and the person we are right now, really. So there is a lot of similarities, and very often you hear the similarities. There is one thing, so I keep on thinking about that, and I keep on saying, okay, are we just telling ourselves the story we want to hear? Are we just telling ourselves that we're going to keep on growing, there are going to be thousands of satellites being deployed, and everything is going to be fantastic? So I cannot help myself to go back and look at data all the time. The sentence that you saw in my first slide said, it was an Italian sentence, but it says, remember your past, but never stop looking to the future. And that is a key for me. Every time I do a few steps forward, I do stop, and I look back what happened, and actually if we anchor what we said we were going to do to reality. I've done this exercise recently with respect to the original forecast in 2013 of how the evolution of CubeSat was going to be. And then I look at the 2017 one, and to my surprise, I'm going to be honest with you, they were an incredible good match with respect to the forecast at the time with what actually happened. And I look at the data and everything on why then is justified to multiply at least by 2 with respect to the forecast that were originally what we expect in the next few years. Based on everything I know, and I'm around quite a lot, everything I see, and I think some of you can validate that, I think those expectations are actually on the lower side. There is a tremendous amount of between payloads, CubeSat, small satellite, nano, we can call it the way we want, but it's the same thing, democratization of space, and opportunity for everybody to really have their own say in what we do and how we utilize space. So what do we do then at Tyvak? How did we grow? How do we map into this evolution of these small satellites? Well, we look at it from different angles all the time, but the most important aspects are always have a large variety of mission requirements. This is a philosophical aspect that is always out there, and I've been, I guess, asynchronous with respect to a lot of the people in the business for a while. Everybody says that you should just pick an application, one set of requirements, and go with it, and stick everything you have into that corner. I always predicate for the opposite. I may be not as daredevil as other people are, but I kind of look at the market all the time, and I do understand that it's very unwise of me to try to continuously, by myself, predict what everybody's going to want at the same time. So what we decided at Tyvak was to instead spend a lot of time to create the basis, create everything that we needed, all the building blocks, so we could accommodate as many different mission requirements as possible. Mission-driven complexity. That goes to the standardization discussion. Standardization in terms of one satellite fits all just does not exist. One rocket fits all just does not exist. Doesn't matter what some people say. It's just proven over and over and over. We are not really new in finding this out. So, but what it does exist is the minimum common denominator in every single satellite you place. So by doing that and by trying to find a minimum common denominator, you can actually go into production and standardization while maintaining the flexibility to accommodate the different complexity that comes from different missions. Customer base, we work with education institutions, we work with Department of Defense, we work with NASA, we work with international, you name it, very likely in some way, shape, or form, we have collaborated or worked with them. It means that speaks to processes. Processes have to be flexible as much as your technology. If you block everything into one specific footprint, you will sooner or later end up into different roadblocks and into different things, which it's okay, it's not the end of the world, you just push right through them. However, if you can plan from the beginning, it's always very helpful. And the last one is high throughput. If it's true that there is going to be a lot of needs, and if it's true, you have to plan from the beginning to have all of that. There is a fifth one, which is the one that the number one that I care about, which is operational relevance. We actually have started a couple of years ago turning down requests for projects and work if they weren't operational relevant. It means real. It means filling a need. It means filling something that actually was a step function with respect to where we are right now to the need that has to be filled. The only exception, and it will always be like that, is in the educational side. That one we actually go all the way back and say, let's go back to the basic every single time so that everybody can learn. That type of approach allows us to grow fairly exponentially through the years. We don't like to do much PR. We don't like to do much events. Our website, it's pretty minimal, really. It's one static page. So we don't share too much. However, we have been launching quite a lot of missions. We have enabled quite a lot of missions. We have integrated and deployed quite a lot of missions. And chances are, if there is something that is fairly complex, either we are involved or we have been talked to. Let me give you some examples. I divided it into blocks, but there are two projects that I'm extremely proud about. That one is flying already, actually multiple of them are flying, and one is right now on the station ready to be deployed by our friends at Nanoracks. RainCube has been out there, is a JPL NASA mission. That's a step function with respect to everything that has been done so far in weather detection through radar sounding. It's a small Ka-based radar, synthetic aperture radar, a deployable antenna, which apparently just won the biggest possible award in the mechanics world recently, a couple of days ago. And it's an extremely complex mission when it comes to fitting everything it needs to do. This is real science quality stuff I'm talking about, not let's launch it and see what happens and what type of data we get. We are past that. Now, this is scientists that really wants to get their data to write papers, to make discoveries and whatnot. We're excited for RainCube to launch soon, and JPL is excited to see everything that happens. Very challenging to put it together. The other one that is even closer to my art, to our art, is Cicero. Cicero was done with a company called GeoOptics. GeoOptics is a perfect story of why small satellites are powerful. For many years, GeoOptics was not able to achieve what they wanted to achieve. Although they have on their resume and they have on their board and part of the operations the people that invented GPS radio occultation, the people that know everything inside out what it is, they were not able to execute it. Reason is very simple. They ended up always going, for the good or the bad, to a more traditional spacecraft approach, using things that they had that they knew that they were going to work, because that's the world that they always lived in. By a casual encounter with their CEO, we were actually able to say, let me take a crack at that. And what we did is we took the payload, we shrunk it down to like 1/5 or 1/6 of what originally was. That allows the entire satellite to shrink down, that entire everything else to change in their paradigm. multiple of them flying, many more that are in the process to go. But the most important thing is this. I have no idea what those squiggly lines are. I'm not a scientist. I just know this, that every time I see a JPL scientist jump up and down of happiness and scream, it must be something significant. So they're not very emotional. So I asked them when that happened, and they were like, you have no idea. This is better performance than what we saw in previous, more established and other flights. I don't know what that means, to be honest with you, but I'm happy for my customer that they achieved what they wanted. And I think they're going to release soon more information about this. But again, science, more of this to come. There's a lot of things in the pipeline that have to do with science. So keep thinking about that and keep hoping that actually there is the right way to do it. The other one that I'm very attached to is this one. I call it No Compromises Earth Observation. I got nothing against imaging. It's a fantastic thing to do. Everybody does it, so there must be something to that. The reality of imaging is that it's got a lot of limitation. You must have the right light. You must have the right no clouds, so the right weather situation. You must have the right everything in order to achieve what you need to achieve. What we decided to do was almost immediately to skip the whole imaging phase and try to go immediately of what was going to be next. What was going to be that solution that we could fit into this type of satellites we make that was going to allow us to do the next step, and that's synthetic aperture radar. We spent quite a lot of time working it out, and like we did for a Cicero type of approach, we started from the ground up. The reason is very simple. We don't settle. You have two approaches every time you have a problem. You decide the tool you have, and you kind of as a byproduct end up with some result of it based on the tools. Or you decide the result you want to have, and you create a tool to get that result. We do the latter one. So we went and figured out what does the market really needs? What do the customer really needs? What do they have right now, and how do you make it better? And we enrolled some of the best folks, I think they are the best folks, I hope they are, that actually helped us and guided us and critiqued every single step that we were doing. I don't show pictures of those satellites yet. We have been keeping them fairly close, but they will be out soon. The pictures I use are from other satellites currently flying. However, the performance is going to be comparable, is not slightly better under certain conditions. The big advantage is this. 3D mapping, all weather, speed and movement. So when you talk about data, when you talk about imaging, you immediately think about the thing in front of you that your eyes see. That's not what people need. That's not what people care about, really, at least the people that I work with. They care about the information behind that. And so this synthetic aperture radar technology allows you to actually go directly into that information and extract them, believe it or not, sometimes much easier. Roughly, we are at 1/20 of the cost, 1/10 on the size, performance comparable. The big advantage is orbit independent. Feel free, go Google all the SAR satellites out there. They're all in a specific L10. They're on a specific orbit, and they're on a specific time of that orbit. And that's because of power generation. That's because of other limitations. Because we want to do the next step, we remove that, and which is not simple, but that's why it's taking a little bit, but actually we are there, 100% sure we are. And the other important thing is it does no good if we get all this data and we keep them for ourselves. So architecture-wise, it was extremely important to set up everything from the radios that we use to the network that we use to push data and being able to process to our customer within 15 minutes. So that's it. Another thing I want to mention to the students and to everybody that is thinking about starting their own company or doing their own satellites and everything, there is something I always tell all the new hires in my company that ask me why don't we make a 600 satellite constellation, why it's not on our roadmap, and I explain to them that it's very simple, that physics and technology dictates the size of the satellite you're going to do in order to what you need to achieve, but it's only the market that dictates the number of spacecraft that you need. I profoundly refuse to have something that I have to depend on when there are hundreds of things that have to work at the same time all the time. I prefer to do one step at a time and go from there. I'm going to just tell you one more thing, which is this, what I call the building block of future exploitation of space. This is something that is real, has flown already, albeit we've been silent about that. There is a more visible mission for NASA, which is called CPOD, CubeSat Proximity Operation Demonstrator. This effectively is a space drone. Is fully autonomous, able to do non-cooperative rendezvous, proximity operations, all the way to docking. This is the TRU version, our tech demo. There are many more that are coming. I apologize. I really tried to be able to show pictures and to show other things that we have acquired in our demo mission that we flew, but they didn't let me do that. So you will have to see it. And why all of this is important? Because it all applies to the new extraplanetary missions as not as sometimes as the main driver, but most likely as the companion, as the satellites that are going to keep on enabling and keep on helping into those exploitation. And it's time to go off the stage, I assume. So that's it. Okay, that's right. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, so your company provides turnkey solutions for data analytics companies, and the second question is like, is it a 6U for satellite?
Yeah. So the answer to the first question is yes. We evolved as part of the evolution of the technology, or maybe before the evolution of technology, there has been the evolution of the business. The reason why we end up right now doing almost exclusively completely solution-driven business, so from inception all the way to operations and providing raw data to our customers, is because it allows you to have many more knobs to turn to optimize the whole thing. And we jokingly call satellites that come together from many different parts Frankensat, and which there is an advantage to that. The problem is they're not optimized. Again, nothing wrong with it if you are okay with the results. Because of what we do, we had the need to integrate everything from launch to operations to technology in order to achieve those type of performance that we need to. What was the second question? Yeah, we actually do sizes from, we don't do any more less than 3Us. 3Us for us are tech demos right now, but we are doing satellites all the way to 150, 200 kilograms. So there is a span of capabilities, and all of them with the same technology, by the way. So when I call about the minimum common denominator, we stick to that principle. So anything from a 6U to a 200 kilograms uses the same core architecture.
Yeah, a few slides back, I think it was 2 or 3 slides back, you have the RPO. Can you show that animation again? And
sure.
Maybe explain what's going on with that hardware?
Yeah, I thought I was late, so I started going fast. But yeah. So what's happening there is this is an early, I don't even know, 2018. So this is a 5 years ago, 4 years ago test that we have done on a granite table with air, essentially, where we allow we constrain the algorithm that is on the satellite to work in 2D, essentially, and we kind of constrain the 3D. But the algorithm allow to govern the 2 different sleds and to find each other to do the final docking. That was the test in order to understand if we were able, with the final solution that we have for the docking, to actually have it work and make it happen.
Is that the ARREST spacecraft?
The what?
ARREST. I mean, there's a project out of JPL. I mean, because they're also doing autonomous docking.
Yeah, there are a few efforts going on out there now. This is it's the NASA version of it is called CPOD, CubeSat Proximity Operation Demonstrator. This is with NASA Ames. Sorry. CPOD, CubeSat Proximity Operations Demonstrator.
CubeSat standards become really great foundational of work for many companies and people to enter space. But a lot of the companies right now felt that it's not big enough. And for example, Planet is a big promoter of CubeSat, but their most valuable features came from Healthview satellites. So there is a new concept called Launch Unit that was created by Aerospace Corp. And they want to build start with a bigger block, which is about 30 kilograms. So could you tell more, and what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think standardization, as I mentioned before, is important when there are, for many different ways, for many different reasons. the 30 to 70 kilograms has been forever the sweet spot of many things. And actually what dictates that is both economy, but is also physics. There is just, you can't beat physics, that's the bottom line. So you gotta have to adapt to it, physics is not gonna adapt to you. And I had to learn it the hard way because I got mad one day over that. But I'm not that powerful. And the 30 kilograms is great, all the way to 50 is great. So there is that movement to the standardization. We are part of some efforts ongoing that are going to leverage on that, but it's not the only shape, so to speak, that we're going to be using.
Yeah, so sounds like there's been a lot of progress, but what, in your view, is the chief hurdle or the main hurdle right now?
There is none. Wow. We have all the pieces that we need in order to make what we want to do. It's, I mean, I could go down the road and just start complaining about it's not perfect, I cannot launch tomorrow morning when I want to wake up and launch. The reality is that I would not do that anyway because there are limitations in your progress and in your technology, getting ready and all of that. There is enough launches right now, but there is even, the launch side, as you have heard today, and so on, is being taken care of already. So I can plan right now because of people like the one you have heard this morning and some other that aren't here today. So I don't see that as a roadblock at all anymore. Finance, no longer. There is more money in this small satellite than there has ever been. There is more excitement and more people willing to do application and hence pay than there has ever been. Technology, you just make of it and you select it the best you want to do. I say good, quality, talented people that actually have hands-on experience and understand the full end-to-end. That may be the resource that we are more in their need right now. We don't have a lot of people. We finished a lot of the group that did the entire CubeSat at the beginning, and I don't know, it's not the same yet. So I think it's going to be pushed, and there are going to be more resources, human resources coming in with their knowledge. I hope so. But that may be the one that we have to pay the most attention of, to keep on letting them play and fail and learn and get their hands dirty and all of that, so that I keep on fueling company like this. I have to. Can we take one more, or
Yes.
we do it later? Okay. Up to you. We can. I can.
So one more question.
All right.
For your missions, do you see value in for your missions, do you see value in dedicated small sat launchers, or are you satisfied with being a secondary payload?
No, I like small cell launchers. I like big launchers. I like cislunar launchers. I like direct geo in orbit, direct injection orbit launchers. I like all of them. It doesn't matter, really. It doesn't matter. I got a mission for any different one of those. Thank you.
Very much.